So today I have something very, very special. It is a box. But wait a second, it's not just any box because after activating the power of knife of the pocket and uh, slicing, I can get to the contents of it. And what's inside is important. It isn't what's on the outside that's important, but what's on the inside. And on the inside, I have, if you know, is a box of shoes. Now, as you can see from the box, it is from the legendary La Sportiva. And this is actually a very oddly shaped box. I've never gotten a box shaped this way before. But you can guess from the lack of an edge that the type of shoe that I have retrieved from the box, it is a pair of no edge mantras. And in this video, I'm just gonna go through a very simple review of these bad boys right here. Let's just start it off with aesthetics. Now, I'm not going front. My first impression upon opening the box is these shoes feel like they've been used already for some odd reason. If I look at, say, the rubber marks right here, let me see if you can see it. Can you notice like this little bit of a skidding mark already? I don't appreciate that. I was expecting to be nice and flush. However, that could just be how the shoe is. And I don't know because I'm not a shoe connoisseur, to be honest. The weight of these shoes are super light. It feels very cheaply made, but of course it is just light in that nature. Also, something I don't like about these shoes immediately is they're not as clean as I would expect them to look or feel. Like, for example, this little nubbin right here, that little dot right there. I don't appreciate that in a new pair of shoes. So, don't know what that is, but I'll still wear it nonetheless. Besides that, I think the colorway looks pretty nice. Pretty cool. Let me try them on. Now, I did get these shoes from the Epic TV store, or Banana Fingers. And on Banana Fingers, they cost approximately 109 bucks. On the US market, I believe they're about $160. So they're middle of the road type shoes with a slight downturn, not too much. And the main reason why I got these shoes was because my friend had a pair and I tried his on. And I was like, wow, these are kind of comfortable. And ooh, my bajillion. Let me tell you something. The second my foot decided to go all the way in, it was like it just suction vacuumed my feet into location. It's like when you go in for a hug, and as the hug starts to close around your body, it feels nice. But the second the arms finally wrap around you, it's like really nice, tight, and snug. And you're like, you know what? I've been missing something this whole life. My whole life. And that fact is these shoes fit really, really comfortable. Now, I did get these modestly. I didn't downsize them too much. They're at about, say, if my street shoe is a 9, these are 8.5 or 8. I could probably gone half a size down lower. I do feel a little bit of excess toe space there, but that's totally fine. In terms of the heel, I will say there does seem to be a little bit of a spacing on the heels. But to be honest, when it comes to shoes for me, most of the heels always feel kind of spacious. So that might just be a me thing. But just walking around them in my room, they feel extremely comfortable already. I probably should have downsized by half a size, but that's all right. They feel nice and comfortable. I can't tell the no edge is working. By the way, what is no edge? Did I explain what that is? So what no edge is, as you can see, the rubber around this shoe doesn't have a solid starting or ending point. It kind of just envelops it like a hand going over. And what that does, according to the science, is anytime this is placed on a foothold, say something like this, you're going to get more contact on the foothold because the shoe doesn't have an edge. So instead of it just being right here, it's now like right up and down instead of just down. You know what I mean? So I can't wait to actually try these out. I'm done climbing for the day, but tomorrow I think I'll go climb, try a little bit. I'm gonna do that shoe test where you try to make the shoe stick. It's not happening. However, it will happen this way a little bit if you grab it. I will say there's a particular thing about these. Yes, they smell like rubber. Not bad rubber. I like the design. They feel really comfortable, really nice function. Pretty excited to try them out I'll give you the rest of this review once I'm climbing them a little bit. So my first impressions with the shoe finally climbing on the wall just off of this yellow is that I finally understand what people mean when they say the shoe is sensitive and you can feel the hole through the shoe, because the construction of this is so thin in terms of the rubber. You literally feel like you're just walking or climbing with barefoot on the hose, and the sensitivity is through the roof. Now that's either a good or bad thing depending on how you want to look at it, but to me, I thought it was kind of a good thing. So my toes did hurt a little bit more than usual throughout the climbing session. And the way I decided to experiment with the shoes is I just went and did climbs that I did previously with my other pair of shoes, my 510 moccasins Naya that I normally always wear, just to compare it. And in all the climbing comparisons, there's only really one climb where these shoes didn't, well actually there's two climbs where these shoes did not perform up to par. I'll show you those later. But for most of it, so long as I kept the forces from this part and forwards, then the shoe performed extremely well. This little patch of rubber right here is extremely grippy. I don't know what they put in this rubber compound, but this could stick relationships back together. It is astonishing how sticky and excellent it is. And right here I'm doing a test where I'm actually trying to slip right off of the toe, and I'm actively pushing downwards as hard as I can, just trying to get it to slip like how my other shoes would definitely slip. And it came to the point where I realized that these slippers were like kind of like ballerina slippers, where you're able to go directly on your toe because there's no edge and it's just straight up rubber, which you can see I was able to do. And it hurt my toes a lot, but that made this forced point of contact extremely incredible. And then I went ahead and I did some super steep roof climbing just to test out the shoe, see if it will perform any difference. And it worked fine. It worked exactly like how you would expect it to work. It just worked like a normal shoe. That's not the important part. On the left, you can see that's my feet. And on the right is a friend of mine's. Thank you, Luke. That's his feet. Now, he's had his mantras for about maybe 3 months, and I had mine literally the first day. And you can see the wear and tear and the discoloration. Not to say that's a bad thing, that's just something to point out to keep mind of. Now on this blue climb, the no edge became spectacular. Now normally when I climb, I don't really need to trust my feet because I know whether the foot's gonna stick or not, because I've been climbing relatively long enough to be like, okay, it's not about trust, it's about skill. However, with these shoes, because of the no edge technology and I wasn't used to it yet, I had to use trust in terms of my feet, trusting that the fact that the no edge will catch. And on this blue climb, it definitely caught, specifically to this blue volume hole right there, which with my other pair of shoes did not catch as well. But with these, I placed it on and it just stuck. And it was like a moment of trust, but honestly, that's just me not being completely used to the shoes yet. So on like rounded holes that don't have like a particular definitive point and you're going to it like statically, these shoes are superb. The fact that there's no edge really allows you to acquire more grip on all fronts of angles. Spectacular. But while analyzing these shoes, I did notice a slight construction structuring of the shoe that they did. You see right there, there's a little bit of a triangle cut. Now the way I figured it, and my friend we figured it, was because they wanted it so that when you pull onto the strap, it wouldn't literally tear this apart. So they added a little bit of a pre-cut to help with the directions of the forces to help better keep the shape of the shoe. That's how we justified it. Yeah. Now here comes like a big gripe of mine. So these climbing shoes should be symmetrical. However, while looking at my climbing shoes, there is a big problem. If you look, this right here is the right one, this is the left. The right one has this little divot in excess of rubber right there, whereas this left one is more of a smooth construction. And it wasn't just on my shoes, it was on my friend's shoes as well. And for some odd reason, the mantras, the right shoe has a lot more rubber on the inside toe, or the construction has like a little divot compared to the other one. Now, I don't know about you, but I would like my shoes to be symmetrical. And that just really irked me, because they're completely new shoes. They should be perfectly symmetrical, or as close as you can, to the point where it's hard to tell a difference. But these shoes, for whatever reason, were not, and it just wasn't in my case, it was in my friend's case as well. And that's just a bit of baffling, a bit disappointing, to be honest. And then while looking at that thing, we also noticed that the shoe has this little hole right there. If you look, you can see that tiny hole right there, but there's not one over here. Now, again, does the tiny hole really affect anything? No, not really. But the idea, or the simple fact that they weren't symmetrical, in terms of construction, makes me feel like there was a lack of product control, whatever you want to call it, during the making process. And I don't really like that, especially not coming from such a nice, cool climbing brand such as La Sportiva. This rubber is so sticky that it made the rest of the climb extremely easy. It even felt really good on no text. Like, it made no text feel like it had a form of texture. That's just how good this rubber was. But also during the whole figuring out of where the best spot to place on this shoe is on the hole, we figured that the best spot to place it was just this tip right here. The part that I'm showing you right now, that right there is the money spot. I found it very difficult to smear with this shoe. The reason why is if you look at the kind of like the construction of it a little bit, it's hard to tell, but I'm just going to exaggerate it. If we're looking at the shoe from this point of view, you kind of notice that the bottom sinks downwards and the top of the lip, they both lift to the upside. So the construction is a little bit like that. So when you place it down, all the pressure isn't equivalently spread out like that. Like with a flat shoe, bam, everything gets touched. But with this shoe, because it's like a little bit convex, when it comes down, your body weight has to press it downwards like that, making it just a little bit harder to smear. So when it came to just using the tip of the toe, it was very, very, very good. But when it came to having to smear on the wall like this, it was very, very garbage. In fact, considering how sticky this rubber was, I was actually astonished at how, oh my God, it was so bad at smearing. But at toe smearing, like just using the tip, perfect. But using the tire shoe, awful. And it was on this black climb that the fact that I couldn't properly smear completely well with the hole of the flat of the shoe came to light, because I've done this climb before in my other pair of shoes, not too bad. And these shoes with stickier rubber, with theoretically speaking more surface area, the way this was constructed just wasn't sticking to the volume. However, it's probably because this is my first day wearing them and they need a little bit break-in time for the rubber to become really, really sticky and used to, and for the shoe to form around my feet. So you have to give it that caveat. Keep in mind, first day wearing them, and they felt pretty good overall. As for the blue coordination, and again, the aforementioned paint coordination, when it comes to landing on footholds, or my bad, landing on big volume homes with this, it really felt like the rubber was so thin that it felt like I wasn't landing on, I feel like I didn't have any absorption through my shoe. I never thought that'd be a thing I said, but with like a thicker pair of shoes where the sole is a little bit thicker, when you land, that little bit of rubber will serve as a shock absorber, so you feel it less in your feet. But because this shoe has less of it, when you land, you really feel it in your feet, and it's not like a ow wee, it's more like a oh, that is interesting. I'm so much closer to the wall than I thought I would be. I think it's just a learning curve, or a learning of the sensation for you to become better at it, because I kind of felt naked when landing with these shoes. Of course, I could still land, and the rubber is, again, fantastic. And it's one of those things for this blue climb where you can see I turn my feet this way and place it against the wall. If this is the wall, it's like that. And due to the lack of an edge right here, I feel super confident, right? Super confident just standing up, having this rubber take to the wall. Really nice. Now, this white climb is my project that I've been projecting, and I've been starting off with a bicycle. So because of a bicycle, I got to test out the toe rubber. And let me tell you, excellent, superb, disgustingly good. Actually, in fact, it was so good, I was like, yo, it literally feels like I'm cheating. And now to toe rubber, same quality as this rubber, because it's the same thing, but top toe rubber. It's more than enough to get the job done. I kind of wish there was a little bit more, just because I'm used to having a little bit more. But honestly, this is really all you need. It stuck. It felt really good. I felt very, very secure. So the toe rubber is really good. And I also tested the toe rubber on 2 different bat hangs. The big blue one, which is arguably pretty easy to bat hang off of. Toe rubber felt good. Only thing that was lacking was my toe hooking prowess. And I also tested it out on the black one. Toe rubber, still good. Only thing that was lacking was my toe hooking prowess. But yes, the toe rubber on top feels very nice, feels very secure, nice. But I will say, my friend's shoe, since his was a little bit older, his did start to flay right here on the sides and edges where the rubber gets in contact with the shoe. And that kind of sucks. Honestly, that's all there is to say about it. There's not much else to say beyond that. But I will say something about the heel cup on like 99% of shoes just kind of suck. and this shoe is no different. But here's the interesting thing. Even though the heel cut was kind of loose, as you can see, I'm like literally pinching it. The interesting thing was as my foot got like sweatier and started building moisture, it's like the suction of the shoe became even more compressed and tighter. Like the sweat made it even stickier to my feet. So this band also that wraps around it that keeps the heel, the shoe from splitting off of your heel, it is operating really well. And I never felt like throughout any of my heel hooks that I did that day, not that I did a lot, that I never felt like the shoe was gonna pop off of my heel, which I have had happen with multiple other pair of shoes. So even though the looseness of the heel is evident and present, it doesn't really seem to be a problem. I think that might just be it could be better, but I think that's just because I have really small heels for some odd reason and really wide feet. Speaking of wide feet, this shoe is really good if you got wide feet. Look at that. It's excellent. Great. And then we tried this white climb. And the interesting thing about these slightly downturning shoes is if you notice, notice how the rubber doesn't extend all the way to the heel. That is purposeful because typically speaking, they want you just climbing and putting this part of your foot on the hold. Like 99% of the time, they won't ever hardly expect you to put this part of your foot on the hold, which means that when you're jumping and stuff, it's a lot easier to focus the pressure onto the balls of your feet, which I did notice because I've done this exact climb, this exact jump in my red shoes, which are completely flat. And when I'm doing it in my red shoes, my foot is completely flat on the hold as I go up. But in these white shoes, it kind of forces me up a little bit higher so I could jump off of my toes a little bit better. Currently, I'm not so sure which one I prefer, but they both work. And again, this toe rubber stickerization is incredible. And lastly, I just did this black climb just to see if it felt better because there's a little bit of a smaller type hose on the foot. And the answer was yes. Yes, it was better. It was better. This no edge technology, I can see why some people really enjoy it. And I can see why some people really are not a big fan of it. I will say one of the big advantages to having no edge is you permanently know that the shoe is always in no edge condition. Unlike like an edging shoe, when it does have an edge and it loses it, you feel it. But I feel, I don't know yet, I feel like because this is no edge, that as you wear and tear it down, it's gonna feel the same in terms of security on the feet until ultimately you run through the rubber. That's how it feels. So my conclusion or my verdict at the end of all of this is I really like the Mantra La Sportiva, Mantra More Sportiva. The colorway is nice. It has just enough bright orange, red, and teal with the white and black to make it pop. It's not too much with a little bit of a yellow down low because branding, of course. The toe rubber on top is more or less more than enough, sufficient, excellent. The suction that happens when you put your foot in is incredible. It's like, right? And then when you sweat a little bit, it even gets better. Incredible how that happens. This rubber thing here, the little thing, the strap that gets you in. My friend, he's been wearing his for over 3 months, says the strap has not weakened at all. In fact, it might have gotten better. So it seems like the durability test in that regard seems to work excellent. The couple of issues that I do have with this shoe is, again, the construction isn't uniform. For one reason or another, not uniform. Pisses me off to all high hell. The rubber, when you get it right out the box, it looks like it's been already used and slightly abused, which is, if you're into that, that's cool and all, but when I buy new shoes, I expect it to look new and pristine. I got Solutions before, and every time, those things always look great. I wish they would do the same thing with the Mantras. I figure it's because the construction of the Mantra is more of like a hands-on process because of the way this is molded and just folded into the shoe. These shoes are generally, honestly, any foothold I put these shoes on felt way better than any shoe I've ever used. To be fair, I'm like a 2-shoe type of guy. I don't really like shoes that much. I'm not a shoe connoisseur, but hey, I think the shoes are fantastic. If you are gonna get a pair, I recommend you get it from bananafingers.com. It's a little bit cheaper, even with the shipping. If you're in the US, it's about $160. Banana Fingers $109 plus shipping. That's like $19, but in the end, it's still a little bit cheaper. These are the white variants, which I believe are the low volumes. I think they're pretty nice. Oh, I guess one concern is because the rubber is very thin. I am slightly concerned about the wear and tear life of how long this shoe will last me. But that will be something to be seen in the future. Maybe I'll make a post review, like 3 months later review on these shoes. But overall, this was the review of the Mantra La Sportiva. Hopefully you liked the video.